Hello, everyone. This is JW from Stop Writing and Sober Militia blog. I'm joined today with Brittany Priestley, who is the author of Mommy Drunkest, one of the best titles I've ever seen. And she's going to talk a little bit about her journey and what brought her today and go from there. So, Brittany, you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm Brittany Priestley, like you just said, and I released my book actually last April, so it's almost been a year since it's been out. And basically, it's just my memoir and story of my life in addiction and what that was like, and how I came out of it and got sober. And I don't know when this is going to be airing, but today is the 14th of March. And so in 1 month, I'll have 4 years.
Nice. Congratulations.
Right. Yeah. It's pretty, I never thought I could do it. I don't think any of us ever think we can until we do, you know? But yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah. And so we met through, I think it was Instagram. We started chatting a little bit. And I think we had a phone conversation at one point. And
Yeah.
I remember you kind of telling me about what was going on with you. And I was talking about my stuff. And then you sent me your book, which was awesome. Thank you for doing that. And I just sat down and read through that. It was a quick read because you can't really get away from it, because your story is pretty intense. And, but it's interesting to kind of dive into the world of somebody else who's been where you are or are, have been. And you can always find similarities. Doesn't matter what your story is, right? There's always those similarities. You can be like, oh yeah, I can totally relate to that. And that's kind of what I found going through your book too, is just constantly, finding things that related to my life too. So I think anybody that's in this, community, sober or not, would relate a lot to what you had to say.
Definitely. And that was my sole purpose of writing the book. I wrote it through Recovered on Purpose. They're a platform for recovery. And it was to get, share my story, have a bunch of people share their story so that we give hope, you know what I mean,
Yeah.
to somebody. And with my story, I think of it as a gift now, but I had so many different types of things happen to me, that that were not good.
Right.
But now I see it as a gift because I'm able to help other people, women or men who have been through sexual abuse, who have been through spousal abuse, drug and alcohol addiction. My trauma manifested in so many different ways, you know what I mean, that I feel that I can help even with like eating disorders, like I remember when I know you don't do the steps necessarily, but I was doing step work and I just started crying to my sponsor because I was like, I am so effed up. Like I have so many problems, you know what I mean? And I was thinking about it, but I can help other people now because I've been, and I feel like that is the most sincere, most powerful way to help someone is when you have been in their shoes.
Yeah, for sure. So, yeah, I've found that to be one of the byproducts of sobriety, and I didn't expect it. I started with my blog as a way to kind of keep myself accountable. And as I did that, I started to kind of get involved in the sober community. And the more I did that, the more I realized, there's a big world out there and a lot of people who can use help. And so it kind of involuntarily happened for me too. But then once I did, I realized, wow, this is really powerful. And it's something I want to continue. And that's kind of where I've ended up. It wasn't on purpose at all.
Exactly. And it's just like the more that you give, the more that you receive. And it's just this back and forth win-win for everyone, because by you helping other people, you're staying sober yourself, know?
Yeah.
So it's all around. It's a good thing.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of like they say, when you teach something, you learn something even better. And that's the thing I'm learning a lot is as I continue to blog and try to find things to write about and talk about, as I do that, I'm digging deeper and deeper all the time into this world of sobriety and recovery and mental health and everything. And I feel
Mhm.
like it just gets better and better by doing that.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's a lot of fun. So tell me about so when you wrote your book, I mean, it's a long story because you start your story as a child.
Mhm.
How was that for you, digging back into all that, just emotionally and everything? Like how did you handle that? Because that must have been pretty hard.
It really was in that time frame. I see it as just perfect timing when that came along for that opportunity to write it. Because I was just on Facebook and just scrolling, and I saw this thing, and it was from Recovered on Purpose, and it was if you've been sober for 30 days and you've always wanted to write a book, click on this, and I
Mm.
don't ever click on those things,
Yeah.
and I decided to do it, and then I set up an interview, and in this time in my life I was almost 3 years sober, because this was in December of 2019 that I stumbled across this. And so I was coming up on my 3 years, but I allude to it in the book. I don't say exactly what happened, but I had my ex-husband, because a lot's happened since I wrote the book. But he was sober with me for a little over 2 years.
Right.
And then he started drinking again.
Okay.
So I tried really hard to live in that atmosphere with having someone bringing alcohol into the home. And it was during this period that he was doing that. And so I was finding it hard to stay strong.
I bet.
Yeah, because it was really starting to wear on me. And then I set up this interview to do this thing for the book, and I kept thinking in the back of my mind, I was like, I can't, drink, because if I drink, then I won't be able to have this interview. I won't ever be
Yeah.
able to write a book. And writing a book has always, since I was little, been a dream of mine.
Interesting.
Always. I've written since I was little. Like, it was my healthiest form of escape.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because I've
Absolutely. Yeah.
escaped since I was little. And that was one of my healthier ones. So it really, when it came upon me, it was like a saving grace for me. It was just like, whoa. But writing all of this stuff out, it was really cathartic.
Yeah.
And it was difficult. And I could tell that there were some times where I was trying to avoid, I was like, okay, I need to start writing this. And I would like try to avoid it. I was like,
Yeah.
okay, you can't, you just have to do it. And I never, because I have the memories, but writing stuff so like intricately and specifically it just gave me a different perspective on what happened, but
Absolutely.
in a good way. It
Yeah.
didn't,
Yeah.
it allowed me to like see it from like a higher view almost, because in writing it, I thought I had like forgiven people for things, but during writing it, I was just like, wow, like those people, and I didn't even tell half of the things that happened to me. I just picked the ones that I thought were most, that affected me the most. But I was like, those people were really, really hurting.
Yeah.
You know what I mean, too?
Absolutely.
We were all victims in some way of something. And so I was really able to forgive truly, those people.
Hmm.
And that set me free too.
Yeah.
So, and it just, writing that book gave me a perspective on a lot of stuff. And like I said, there's been a lot of changes in my life since that book came out,
Yeah.
and just more growth on my behalf. You know what I mean? Help
Absolutely.
me to really see what I want and what I don't want in life.
Right. That's great. That's really great. And I'm sorry about, the situation with your partner, because I remember, you guys went through a lot together, when I was reading that book, like you guys went through a lot, and that was a big part of the story, was how you guys were handling that. And you had some ups and you had some downs and all over in between. And so that's tough. And I'm sorry to hear that. Are you guys not together anymore?
No, we're
Like,
divorced.
it's happened. Yeah. Okay. Oh, I'm sorry about that.
It's okay. And so many people say sorry, but
Yeah.
it's sad. And it was hard. It was really, really hard. And to go through, that's another thing I can help people with, that
Yeah.
was going through a divorce in sobriety.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
didn't, you know what I mean, try to
Yeah.
escape. I just knew for me, it was the right thing to do. Because I couldn't live like that. I really would have gone down with that sinking ship.
I'm sure. Yeah.
And we're still friends. I try
That's
to
good.
be as, friendly as I possibly can, but there were just things that I found out and that happened that I just couldn't keep going on. And
Right.
I think for a long time, because of the kids and because of my own stubbornness, like, I'm married, like, I'm not gonna get a divorce ever, like, this is not gonna happen. But I couldn't, the price to do that was just so much large, just holding on would have really held me back.
For sure. Absolutely. Well, I mean, that's to me, from my experience in the community now, one of the things I hear the most about are people who are trying to quit with a partner who is not. And that's just awful for me to even imagine, because my wife and I did it at the same time. We made that deal, we did it, and we both had the same experience, and it's been an amazing journey for both of us. So I can't even imagine having to deal with somebody in the house that was doing that. So yeah, I
Yeah.
think that's definitely somewhere where you could help a lot of people.
Well, yeah, and
Yeah.
I mean, people can make it work. I don't think the percentage is that high
Yeah.
for that situation. But I mean, if people can make it work, then they can. But my situation, there were just so many other problems and
Right.
issues. Besides that, that was a big one. But there were just a lot of other things that
Sure.
just had to. And I'm happy. I mean, it's a good thing.
Yeah. It is. Yeah. I mean, you made the choice. You knew what you needed for you and your sobriety, and you made that first. And I think that's what we have to do.
Right. And that's another thing, because that's why I said it was just very hard, and I got through it sober. And so,
That's
and I
intense.
got for that, and it's like ripping a part of yourself away from something. And a lot of women, because there was a lot of abuse in our relationship, and so many women just stay
Yeah.
because it's easier, and you know what I mean, and in a way,
Yeah.
but it's not, because it's
Of
hell.
course. Of course.
Like, but because it is hard to change, you know what I mean? Comfortable. And there were so many times where I kept feeling like pulled back, like I have to keep moving forward. And that's what sobriety is growth, you know what I mean? And moving forward and trying to be your better self every day.
Yeah. And I think, the relationship piece is huge, right? And I'm not talking even about our partners. I'm talking about just relationships in general. Because what I found pretty quickly is, the friends that we called friends, often we don't hang on to once we take that step, right? Have you had that same experience?
Yes, I have. I lost a lot of friends in my addiction, just because
Yeah, of course.
I don't know, I wasn't the best person to be around all the time. But I did find that, yeah, like, you have those friends, they're kind of just like the friends you go out to, like, party with, you know what I mean? That's all. And, like, you can form a bond with them, and, like, you do love them, but it's all really surface.
Yes.
So I don't hang out really with people that drink or do drugs anymore. I don't know how. It wasn't really a conscious choice.
Yeah.
It just happened that way.
Yeah.
Because I don't know if other people. I don't ever want anyone to feel uncomfortable if they're drinking, like,
Right.
around. I don't know if it was because of that or whatnot, but you do learn who your true friends are. And once I started becoming healthy, I started noticing other people that were like really toxic.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And because I had a friendship that I'd had since I was 18 that I had to let go because I was so busy being toxic and being drunk and wasted all the time that I never noticed. You know what I mean? Their toxicity.
Yeah.
And so I got sober. I was like, wow, like, I'm not like the worst one, now. It's good to let go of people who aren't there to have your back,
Well, and it's not even, it's not even a conscious decision. I think once you really get into it, what I found was you just, like you said, you start to recognize things. And as bad as we may have been or thought we were, you definitely are not aware of where everybody else is. And I've started to notice that too, where I'm like, wow, that's going on a lot more than I thought. And I just didn't have any idea, right? Because I was so worried about me or thinking people thought I was a drunk. So I had to be careful about what I was doing. And I had no idea what was going on around me.
I know. It's like and just everything revolves around us, you know what I mean? But that's the thing is once you bring it into consciousness, that's when you start to see it everywhere. You know what I mean? Until you're aware, then you're blinded to it, So that's a good thing too. You want people in your corner that love you and support you and, that are proud of you for the things you're doing.
Yeah.
And so that's just another byproduct really of
it is.
you take this toxic thing out and this one, you try to get yourself better. And then it's like all of these, good friendships start coming to you.
Yeah.
Because a lot of my best friends now are in recovery. Sober, and they've been, we've been to war together. They know me, like they understand me, like even like you and I, we would have never met if it weren't for that, but we have this just understanding of like how hellish life can be and what it's like to get out of it. And that's really cool.
It is. It's really wonderful. And my experience is kind of funny too, because, I'm not as far into mine as you are. And so most of the relationships I built, the positive relationships, as I would call them now, are online. Like, so some of my closest friends right now are people I have never met. And so like when I post on Facebook or do something, the people who got, that support me the most are people I don't know. Really, you know what I mean? It's so bizarre, but it's awesome at the same time. I'm like, wow, what a huge world that's opened up, since I decided to go this way.
And it's like a huge family, you know what I mean? It's just like, it really is a blessing.
Yeah, totally. So, I know that your story was definitely a long one and you had some kind of definitely roller coasters going through this whole thing, but what would you say was the most positive thing that really got your attention and got you realizing where you needed to go, and more so than that, even like when you knew it was going to happen, like what was the thing that kind of made you aware that you had it and you were going to do it this time?
Well, my book is, thank you for that compliment too about the Mommy Drunkest title.
You're welcome.
Yeah, my little spin on Mommy Dearest. I tried for so long to try to do everything I could to stop drinking, stop doing drugs, stop everything. I took Antabuse, I did this, I tried to control it, which to no avail. It did not work for me. If it works for you, hats off. But no. So I spent years and years trying, and the thing that finally got me was had my kids taken from me.
Right.
Because my husband and I were both drinking one night. We'd had many, many run-ins with the police already. And they had just had it, you know what I mean? And they came and they took my kids, and we both went to jail. And I was was wasted, you know what I mean? And I remember getting bailed out, and I remember going home and my kids weren't there, and I was so distraught. I mean, this is how messed up we are, you know, when we're in that. My kids weren't there. I was so sad. I was like, oh my gosh, my kids. I started drinking again at like 2 a.m.
Yeah.
And because I couldn't deal. I couldn't
of course.
deal with anything. I mean, that's why I drank, is because I didn't want to deal with life. I just wanted to escape. I didn't want to think about it. I never learned how, you know.
Of course.
But then I got taken to the hospital and I detoxed from there, and I was put in. I mean, it wasn't my choice. You know, at first I remember being like, oh, I decided to get sober, you know, like within the first month. And then I looked back, you know, a while later, I was like, actually, no, it wasn't really my choice. I was forced, but which is a good thing.
Right.
But I went straight from the hospital. They didn't even let me go home to like get any of my stuff to rehab. And I went there for 30 days, and I just started seeing these, you know, I didn't have Easter with my kids, and I didn't have Mother's Day. And on Mother's Day, I got 30 days. And that's when I was like, this is what I'm supposed to do. Wow. Like, I have to do this. I've already lost, you know, I lost the things I love the most in this life. Like, for a long time, I didn't care if my life was taken from drugs and alcohol. I didn't care, but it's like, you took my kids, like my life.
Absolutely.
And that was when the light went on.
And from that point on, it's been the moving forward.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And,
That's
you know,
amazing.
I didn't get them back for a while either. They were with my ex-mother-in-law. And, so I had to keep fighting, you know what I mean, to get them back. And there was a moment in there that I did decide that it was for myself, because as addicts and alcoholics, we have to do that.
Sure.
We can't do it for anybody else.
Yeah.
You know, at first I was like, oh, I'm doing it for myself, but I'm really doing it for my kids. But then that light turned on too, and I was like, wait, I want this for me.
Yeah.
I am not healthy and I don't take care of myself, then what good am I to children or to anyone else in my life? So we do have to want to do it for us.
Yeah, for sure. Well, congratulations. I mean, that's just awesome, really. Well, and your subtitle for your book too is, you know, how losing my little angels freed me of my demons. Right. And so that's very clear as to where that's coming from in your book. But yeah. So if you were to, you know, like talking, and I'm sure this has happened now, right? So you've been sober for a long time. You kind of have your life going in the direction you want it to go. And you run across people who aren't quite there. What's your advice? What do you offer people that might be asking, how do I do this? You know?
How do I do this? Well, I would say, well, for me, and this is why I did like you, like when we met, is that you and I have a different
absolutely
approach to our recovery, which I totally respect, because not, you know, one size does not fit all. Yep. So if for you, then that's, you know, that's what you have to do. For me, what I would do, because what helped me was I would say, go to meetings or do the 12 steps. Right. That's what I would say. I would say, on a more of a, like, what you need to, like, go towards. But if someone is out there right now, I would say to them is that, you know, you're worth it. You're worthy of sobriety, and you're worthy of happiness, you know, because so many of us don't think that, you know, at all. And I know that for me in my journey, like, my mantra ever since I was little was almost like, what's wrong with me? Like, there's something wrong with, like, the things that had happened to me, like, they're my fault. Something is wrong with me. And so I started, since I was super little, like, I would get into astrology to try to, like, figure out, why am I this way? Like, why is this? And then psychology, you know, so I was, like, trying to figure out all of these things, get all of this information. I was really into psychology, like, to do that. And so a lot of us go to this like perfectionism, you know, kind of state of mind. So I tried to like be perfect and become a perfectionist. And then when we can't reach that because we can't, because it's unattainable, we just go the other direction. You know, I felt like I was like that. I'm going to throw in the towel.
Yeah.
Screw this. I'm just going to go, not even care. You know, and then we just give up and we become these degenerates sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I would say it's like, you don't have to be perfect. You just have to be willing. You have to be honest. You have to want to get sober.
Right.
And that's the main, really, that's the main component, is that like, you really, really have to believe that you're worthy of it and that you really want it.
Yeah, the worthy piece is very powerful, because I've written a lot about that. And, you know, I've kind of dug into the ideas of, you know, core beliefs and cognitive distortions and things like that that we use to keep ourselves down all the time. And so the psychology piece I've really dug into, and it started from my own therapy, you know, and because I just remember being fascinated by it. And then so I started digging into it more and more and more. And the more I did that, I started to really kind of open up some things. And the one thing you were saying that I think is really important with the worthy piece is also, you know, I call them our whys, you know, and it's not so much just why do I drink, but why do I want to quit drinking? And I kind of believe that both of those answers have nothing to do with alcohol. And I think until we see that, you know what I mean, until we really figure out that there's way more going on than the fact that I like to drink or get drunk, or that I want to quit drinking because I'm tired of hangovers, there's so much more to that puzzle. You know what I mean?
It's the drugs and the alcohol, they're just like a tiny little symptom of much deeper, you know, it's not normal. Like I wrote in the book, like at 8 years old, you know, drinking wine and drinking beer and just like, oh my gosh, I thought I discovered this magic elixir. I was like, what is this? And why hasn't it been around? You know what I mean? How did I'm so glad I stumbled upon this. But no one ever tells us when we're that young, the road that it can go down. And, you know, it can get real bad. And it did, you know, and for me, and that's just it's just that escaping. And so like, we don't leave this life, you know what I mean, untouched. Like every one of us has been hurt. Everyone has gone through some sort of trauma. And that's what trauma is, the gateway drug. For sure. You know, it's not marijuana. It's the trauma that we're trying to somehow fix, and we can't fix it ourselves. And alcohol and drugs sure don't fix it. You know, they just pile on the problems higher, but we think, you know, we just want that instant relief for a little while.
And it does. It works for that little while, right?
For just a little bit.
But nobody tells us that it's the next day we're going to wake up and that same problem is going to now be bigger.
Yeah, exactly.
The next day. Yeah, definitely.
My dad always used to ask me that. He's like, what are you searching for in the bottom of a bottle?
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't think I'm searching for oblivion. I'm searching just to not even have to face anything. You know, but in sobriety, we learn, you know, not to run, not to flee from things. We learn to face them. You know, how we become strong and aware and able to, you know, help other people. Because that's one of the biggest things for me is helping others in this.
Yeah, me too. Definitely. There's a lot to be said for that. And I think, you know, congratulations on you and seeing that need is out there and going out there and trying to reach people too. You know, I think if more people would do that, it would be such a different world, you know?
Exactly. Yeah, I'm not really, I love the 12 steps and I love the meetings, and I owe them a lot of my sobriety, honestly. Without them, I don't know how it would have gone. But I'm not really big on the being anonymous. I understand why people do it, but for me, I want to share my story, and I want, you know, people to know I didn't care about being anonymous when I was out there drinking and doing drugs and being a fool.
That's true. That's very true.
I So I just feel like we can reach more people without that. But I still love meetings, and I love
Absolutely. Yeah.
steps, and I love those things because I owe a lot to them.
Yeah.
And then there comes a point where it's like, we need to venture out of that as
Right.
well. You know what I mean? And
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think the anonymity thing is interesting because that started a long time ago, right? And I think what's really neat now is we're seeing a shift in people's awareness and willingness to accept it as a norm now. And that when somebody is in sobriety or is going through the first part of their journeys and all that, that I think people are much more willing to accept them, and it's not such a stigma now. And so I think a lot more people are not worried about the anonymity, and they're doing what you and I are doing and putting their stories out there for people to learn from.
yeah, and that it needs to be, there needs to be light shone on it because we're in the recovery world. So like, yeah, the stigma is getting better,
Yeah.
but I mean, it's still out there, like with mental illness, you know what I
Yeah,
mean?
for
With
sure. Yeah.
just like why people just don't want to talk about it. But when we tell our, stories and we're like, we've gone through this, we've done some really messed up stuff, like you're not alone. I have this issue and this issue. It just makes people feel like they're not alone.
Right.
And because everyone, I just feel like they think that they're the only ones
Yeah.
feel this way. And it's not true.
Yeah. That's definitely not true. And I think, if you ask someone, hey, what's one of the reasons you're worried about going sober, or giving up alcohol, they'll talk about, the first thing they'll say is it's going to be no fun. And then the second thing they're going to say is it's going to be lonely. Right. And I've found both of those to be absolutely false. I
Right.
feel like I definitely have better connections and more friends now than I ever did. And I definitely have more fun because I remember it, first of all. But how can you call something fun if you don't remember it, right? But yeah, I think that both those stereotypes are just so wrong. And I think if people could just grasp the fact that, hey, trust me, it's not going to be as lonely as you think, and you're going to have a lot more fun than you think.
Well, you do, but I still remember my thought, process like back then though, because
Yeah.
I really the same thing.
Yeah.
I was just like, that's what, but is it really fun where you are right
Yeah.
now?
Yeah.
Like, are you having a good time? You're probably really not, and if you're thinking about getting sober, then that's probably a good indicator that you probably, you should.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, you know what I mean, and for your life and to be more fulfilling. And one thing that I think I had this problem when I was sober too, but I feel like sometimes when people, like when we get sober and then we're talking to someone who's not, we think we're like better.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or we think, and and it's like, no, not at all. Like no, I've been down that road. Like I have humbled myself. I know what I have done bad in the past. So I'm trying to eradicate this. And I'm trying to help you see how beautiful life can be.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's just not like hellish. When I was in my addiction, I was just so negative and like, everyone's out to get me and this world is a horrible place. And it's, and it's like, once you unfog your mind to see, there's just a lot of
feeling, right? That's the one that's just people don't understand until you go through it. When you start feeling everything that happens, the good and the bad, that's overwhelming. It really is.
Yeah.
But in a good way. Even the bad feeling, like even feeling bad about things that are happening that are normal in life that we used to always squash, even those bad feelings feel good at some point. You know what I mean?
Exactly. It's just to be alive.
Yeah.
In addiction, we're just dead. We deaden so much. And it's funny because the feeling thing, like I drank a lot to not feel.
Absolutely.
Because I feel things very strongly.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to deal with those feelings. I didn't want to deal with it, and now I've learned that, this feeling won't last forever if it's a bad one, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Good one too, but like, you will get through this, like, and you just
Absolutely.
have to live the healthy way, you know what I mean? And it's Feelings are good. They
They are.
they are a good thing. And that's just changing, having that mind change on how you perceive things.
Yeah.
What I mean is how they're,
Perception. Oh my God. So much was
yeah,
perception. Yeah.
how we perceive things or how they are going to be.
Yeah.
Perception is our reality.
Yeah.
Like, I don't care what anyone, like, if anyone, like, doesn't say it is.
Yeah. But you can change it.
Exactly.
Right? And that's the thing that I think that's so much fun with it. Once you start to understand that concept and you play around with it and you see it happen, you're just like, wow, this is cool.
Yeah.
I agree.
We
Very
can
cool.
we so much more out of our lives than we ever believed. We can be so much we ever, we just have to get out of our own way.
Yeah.
Even in sobriety, I'm still like learning that,
Absolutely. Me too.
to get out of my own damn. Like,
Well, we hold ourselves back, all of these things, all the reasons we drink on whatever level they were, they don't just disappear when you get sober, right? It's like you still have to process those things and you still have to learn from your mistakes, and you still have to seek, the information you need to grow and to be better and to reach all those things you want to reach.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it is a lot of work, but it's work that's really, really worth it.
Yeah.
In the end. And none of us are, you know what I mean, till the day we die, we're gonna grow and change.
Yeah.
So it's never like, oh, I'm sober now, so I'm good, I'm set in stone. No.
Yeah.
God, we grow.
Yeah.
Like, that's an awesome thing. I want to be better, or more aware or more knowledgeable in 5 years than I am right now.
Yeah, I call it settling. And that's one of the things I've always attributed to my, addictions, was the idea of settling, where you kind of just go, this is good enough, right? In that moment, you kind of just die a little. And then from there, you know what I mean? You kind of have that's where those bad feelings start coming from, and you have regret, and you have, all these negative things that start to kind of happen because you're not doing anything. You're not moving forward, And so that settling, to me, I've always felt is a really big thing to be aware of and not let yourself do.
Yeah. You just remain stagnant. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's it. And that's not life,
No.
And when you were saying that, it reminded me because of your, stop writing. The same thing happened to me. We stopped doing the things that we like really truly love.
Yeah.
Because all of those poems in my book I wrote when I was like a teenager.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Those were not ones that I had written recently because I stopped, because I couldn't formulate the right words, or I would write and then I'd go back and look at it and I'd be like, this is chicken scratch. Like, how? Oh, it says, like, what was I even talking about?
Yeah.
So it's just, we stop. Yeah, we just stop. We stop growth. We stop doing what we love in order to do something that we think we love that's killing us.
Yeah. Anyway, so are you still writing? Are you going to keep writing, or?
Yeah, I do. I write a lot now because it is very, therapeutic. It is good. A good thing. I do have some ideas. I would go more. I do have an idea for a book, but I think this one would be more like nonfiction.
Okay.
But it's still based on stuff that is mine. You know what I mean? Sure. But I just like to slap nonfiction on there so people can interpret whatever they want, however they want. So I have been doing a lot of writing, and I have. Good. Yeah, so I have a lot of stuff that I'm working on.
Good.
That's
kind of how I feel too. Is it's always kind of keeping something going, with the podcast or blogs or in the book or whatever. Just always trying to keep the creative thing happening and keep your mind growing and always moving forward.
Exactly. Yeah.
So where can people find you? Tell me, where can people find you?
Okay. Well, the book, they can it's on Amazon, but they can also get it on www.recoveredonpurpose.com.
Oh, right. Yeah.
In the store, and on that one, I sign it as well. So it's an autographed, and it's like specifically to the person.
Oh, nice. Very cool.
So yeah, they can get it on there. And then I have Mommy Drunkest on Instagram, and then I have Brittany Priestley on Instagram and Facebook.
Okay. Cool.
I think I have a Twitter too, but I really don't get on
Yeah. Yeah. It's hard to keep track of them all. It really is.
Twitter's never really been my thing.
Yeah. Well, very cool. Well, thanks for taking the time. I'm glad we finally were able to kind of pull this together and find a time to meet and chat a little bit. Hopefully we can do it again.
Oh, I know, totally. Yeah. I'd love to. I would love to. Awesome. You can pick a topic and we can just.
Yeah, I think that's, I've said that before and I've never really gotten around to it because I've done a lot of interviews with people, but we always kind of like, hey, let's pick one thing and then let's, come back together and just talk about that one specific thing. And I've never really done that and I need to. Whoops.
It could work. Well, you usually probably end up going off on different tangents too, which I mean you can, but yeah, that would definitely be fun.
Yeah, definitely. Let's do that. Well, maybe it'll be my first one I actually do that with. So let's think about it in the back of your mind and send me a message about like what would be a good topic based on our histories and stuff. Because and what you said is cool because we do come from very different backgrounds with this. So I think it could be interesting to kind of explore some different, topics from different backgrounds. Yeah.
We'll have to do one when your book comes out too.
Yeah, there you go. Totally. That'll be fun.
I know. I'm excited for that. That's awesome.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you. All right. Well, good. Well, thanks for coming on again. And we will, this will probably come out in about a week or so. And everybody will be able to I'll have all your links and everything on there too. So.
All right. Nice.
Awesome. Thanks, Brittany. I appreciate it. Nice to meet you finally.
I know, you too.